Welcome everyone to another reaction to episode 8 of Bad Batch. We got Nate here instead of Jake. Jake is he's not able to be here because of some work stuff. So we got Nate here showing up.
I'm a poor replacement, but happy to be here.
Great addition to the team. Great addition.
We're just glad you care enough about it. So
all right, well, let's get started here. I want to kind of get your guys' overall thoughts about it. Let me know. What did you guys think about this episode as a whole?
My main thing with this episode is, I mean, there were positives in that, maybe there was some character development with Crosshair and Omega. Kind of they had kind of some moments there. I don't know. There are a couple things that I thought were cool. Overall, though, I feel definitely like a filler episode. Kind of felt like we were getting back to let's go to some random planet and try to progress the story. And the person who can progress the story needs us to run an errand for him. So let's run that errand, and then nothing happens.
Right.
So kind of like we saw in like Mandalorian 1 and like in prior Bad Batch seasons as well.
yeah, I agree. I honestly, it's making me worried that we only have 7 more episodes, and that's the kind of episode they're throwing in at this time in the season. Like, I don't know. I would have appreciated this in maybe season, like the earlier part of the season, but yeah, I did like where they went with the Omega Crosshair stuff, but not as much the Hunter Wrecker stuff. I mean, all of us don't really like Fennec that much already, so when they said literally in the first 5 minutes of the episode, I literally like just put my head down. I was like, "You got to be kidding me, bro!" They're like incoming transmission from Fee, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, we need to go see Fennec," and I was like, "Oh my gosh, like what are we doing now? What dumb side mission?" But I mean, it didn't end up being dumb. It was better than I thought. But ultimately, not a great start to an episode for me. Like, if they said, "Oh, Cad Bane, you're teaming up with Cad Bane," like, okay, whoa, like pause, right? But I don't think Fennec's established herself to be the bounty hunter or anywhere near the bounty hunter in the eyes of most Star Wars fans, and so I don't know, it was kind of a letdown to hear the beginning of the episode, and that maybe trickled through the rest of it.
Yeah, I think kind of going into what you said, Jason. It was very. I liked how kind of like the episode kind of picked up real quick, right? We kind of have them just open up on Pabu and they're just chatting and they're like, "Oh, we gotta figure out what this end count is. We gotta figure out why they're chasing and hunting Omega." And then Fee gets on. They talk about they're like, "Oh, the only bounty hunter we know is Fennec Shand," and instead of being like, "Oh, well, we know Fennec and we know Cad Bane," but I don't know, maybe for like a plot point, like a plot story, they're like, Cad Bane would probably just kill us in the end, so we probably shouldn't go to him. Because they've already encountered Fennec twice at this point. Like, I guess it honestly didn't make sense to me either. I guess maybe it's just Dave Filoni trying to introduce and give some, like, one of the characters she created some more backstory. And so, and Dave we trust, right? So I was like, okay, let's go for it. But yeah, I think that that beginning part, the thing that really hit me was we kind of talked about in the last episodes where Jason, you even mentioned you're like, when is Crosshair going to tell them about his hand? It sounds like they already know about it, right? Like as soon as they as soon as they go meet up with Fennec, Hunter and Omega just talk to each other, and he's like, make sure find someone, like convince him to get that hand checked out, right? So it's like that we thought that was going to be kind of a huge like plot point, was just like, okay, they know about it, they want him to get checked out and all that stuff. Do you guys have any comments about that, about them already knowing about Crosshair's hand?
I think I honestly kind of like how it wasn't like him sitting down and saying, "Guys, I have a problem," because I feel like he would, right? But I feel like they would notice that Crosshair, the guy who hits every shot he takes, who shoots through the barrel of the freaking tank and blows it up from way far away, is missing his shots, and they would notice that. So I think I liked how they did that, how they kind of was a little more natural.
Yeah, I agree. Would have been cool to see Crosshair break down a little bit, open up, but obviously you're right. That's not really who he is. So
But I
And
think
he hasn't even opened up really about his torture yet, right? His experiments. That's kind of what the other big thing is. He refuses to admit that there's another, like there's something in his mind causing the hand issues, right? Not the physical damage from the testing.
yeah, yeah, and I think that that is where they're taking it. I think that um that something an opening up could happen, and they're setting it up like that, which I hope that they do that well, because I feel like that would be such a tricky thing with Crosshair's character to like get him to that point and to get him there well, I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's interesting that you say that point because that was kind of what I had with Tech about him being like overly emotional out of nowhere. But
Yeah.
apparently I'm alone in that, so I won't bring that up anymore.
Yeah, yeah. If you hate
Um,
it, man.
no, no, I don't hate Tech for the fifth time I've mentioned in the video. Um, but yeah, so I mean, continuing on, uh they get to kind of the area that like this little space station that they went to meet up with Fennec. And then they end up talking to Fennec, and Fennec's like, I know, I know someone, who can get you that information, which is kind of like, okay, here we go. That was kind of like my intro, like and like the entry point into here's filler episode. And so I knew from that moment on, I was like, okay, this is going to be either very like the last 10 minutes of this is going to be super crucial for the plot, or this is going to be a filler episode. Those were like the two thoughts going in my mind. I think the one part kind of going on there wasn't really anything notable about their conversation. She just basically said, "Hey, I need a task force to help me track down this really slippery bounty," and they're like, "Well, we have no choice. We got to do this." And the one part that I was like, "Okay, this is hype." Name drop, right? Is when they're um, talking about like the target, and they're like, "Oh yeah, he messed with the Haxian brood," which if you play Jedi Fallen Order, that is the bounty. That's like the bounty guild that's been going after Cal. And so, any thoughts about that, Jason or Nate? See, I don't know, Nate. You haven't
That
touched
was
too
my
much
one
about
big
Jedi.
point. That was my one big point to bring up was Haxian Brood because I mean it was a simple mention, kind of like in Mandalorian season 3. You see the Purrgil, and that's the best part of the episode, and nothing actually happens, right?
Yeah,
But yeah, great mention, great game. Obviously excited to maybe Fennec's involved with the Haxian Brood. Maybe maybe
maybe.
she's got that, and they're building up something for her in future Star Wars content. But I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't have anything with that. I know that's Jason loves that game, so he's the expert there.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
just a
I'm just
Jedi. That's all.
yeah, yeah, Mister. I'm a Sith on every other account.
Well, I'm a red lightsaber Jedi in that game, but
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, the reason I liked that part was I love it when like different universes of that are canon, like canonical universes, start to like mesh with each other, right? We got in season 3 of Mandalorian, we got BD1, a BD unit pop up, right? Um, and those are like those little like Jedi Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor, like uh connections with the live action universe is something that I actually really enjoy seeing all the time. And I want their stories to meld a little bit. I'm waiting to see live action Cal, right? Cameron Monaghan is still young, youthful. I'm pretty sure he would absolutely accept a casting of as Cal in any of the Star Wars shows. So I'm excited to see what they do with that and hoping that he does make an appearance. So that was a cool little callback. Wasn't super big. Um, but yeah, so I guess the major point of of the show is basically them going after this target, right? Which is like this weird praying mantis um character here. Apparently he's done he's slipped through like Fennec's fingers before, and she's like, I can't get him without anyone else, right? And so the entire time, like Hunter and Wrecker are kind of her lapdogs going in, disarming mines, getting attacked by these crocodiles and all that stuff. So there wasn't really anything huge in that moment. But I think the part that kind of connected with me was when we go back to Crosshair and Omega, where they talk about how his hand is fully functioning, Like there's nothing wrong with him physically. And then AZ's just like, well, it could be something with your mind, right? And he's like, no way. There's nothing wrong with my mind. I'm fine. So I want to get your guys' take. What did you think about that part? I thought it kind of, again, it gave Crosshair the vulnerabilities that we kind of didn't see before when he was, sharpshooter. He was a bad A. He take anything out from, leagues and leagues out. But he's back in. He's actually getting some vulnerabilities that make him a little bit more human.
Yeah, I think it's adding depth to his character. Again, I just hope that they it's hard for me to see it and accept it initially. Like I'm glad that he wasn't just like immediately just sitting there zen, on the beach with Omega, just like humming and being a Wookiee doing meditation or whatever. But I think it is interesting that it seems like they've kind of taken a route where Omega is kind of impacting and changing and like opening up these different members of the team. And you mentioned Tech, which we saw in the last season. So looks like kind of just continuing that pattern here with Crosshair.
Yeah, to add on to that, I think Crosshair. So when they went back to the snow planet, and Crosshair at the end tells Hunter he's done things he regrets, and Hunter's like, "Yeah, we all have regrets." I think that had more weight to it than what we perceived. We perceived, oh, Desix, he kills the leader on Desix, or oh, he betrayed them and he chose the Empire, and like, oh, he's gone on some like multiple missions like the Desix one where he's done something he's not proud of, but he did it because of the Empire. And that's kind of what I thought we perceived it as. But honestly, like maybe some of the testing and the things they put him through in the facility was more like torture, like horrific things that they made him do. Not just tests on his like body, but like maybe he had to kill brothers of his for testing to see how committed he was to the Empire, or he had to witness things he never wants, like he can never forget, or something like that. Scarring things mentally that he just is trying to bury. That are even greater than anything that they're going to put on an animated TV show. So I'm curious to see the limit of what it could be. But
yeah, I mean, Clone Wars showed a lot of dark moments in that show, right? I mean, just with like physical brutality, we see Savage Opress decapitate a bunch of the members of the Blood of the Black Sun, and I don't know, like I'm would be interesting to see if they touch on some like a subject like that where it's more less of just like trying to reprogram his brain, because they were saying that like in previous episodes he was supposed to be like those operatives, right? Those like assassins. But he rejected it because maybe that something clicked in him and he was like, this isn't what I want. I know the Empire's just going to discard me later. So that would be very interesting to see when he does open up, if he does open up, and how much he'll go into detail about it, right? I don't have a lot to say about this episode, but one thing that came to my mind, the last 2 points that kind of came to my mind, is the connection between Omega and Crosshair is starting to grow very fondly, and they're starting to become like very close, which is a sweet thing, but can only mean that Crosshair's going to die in the end. And that, because as we see, like a lot of like father figures or a lot of characters that kind of create attachment to each other, one always get offed. And I think I believe that Omega is going to kind of be the last connection to the Bad Batch, and that a lot of them are just going to start sacrificing themselves for the greater good. Noble Six, or the Noble team from Halo Reach sort of spiel. And so that was the one thing that kind of came to my head. What are your guys' thoughts on that? I know we kind of touched on that a little briefly, but
Yeah, I think they're killing a lot of them this season. That's that's still my thought. I haven't really seen anything that would indicate otherwise. Um, I don't know. I Yeah, I could easily see them killing him off. I don't know, Jason. Do you have any specific thoughts with that?
Nothing's changed for me either. It's going out with a bang in the wrong way, honestly. Not the wrong way like it's bad, but in the wrong way that's like it's gonna rip my heart out. And that's why it kind of was a little bit frustrating for this episode to be filler because it's like, okay, that means they're gonna condense it even more into less episodes. And I feel like that's something that like anime has going for it is like, yeah, there's a lot of filler, but like they drag out the big moments instead of, it's either gonna be like irrelevant or it's gonna be this dragged out arc. There's not like these in between things. And so this episode was an in between, and so it was. Yeah, you get a little character development. Yeah, it pushes the plot, but not really because you still don't get the information from Fennec. It's like a standstill, right? You go nowhere. Like at least in one of those Naruto episodes you're watching, Nate, that has no meaning to whatever you're doing. Like at least you're like gain a little bit of knowledge about who Naruto is or something. So
Yeah.
I don't
When
know.
like 1,000 episodes to get through with Naruto, the volume of episodes is much greater, so they can do some of that. But sorry,
Yeah. No, you're good. You're good. The only other thing I was gonna say is just like, do you think that the person Fennec's talking to is Ventress? Like, are we going that direction? That was my only other question for y'all.
Yeah, so I mean that was gonna be my next point to bring up was who was Fennec talking to? I know for a fact it's not the Empire, right? She's not like Fennec's not working with the Empire because that would be too easy. Like it would just be too easy if all of a sudden she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm talking to the Empire." But I think you're right, Jason. It could be it's either Ventress or it's like another person, so like another third party that's interested, um, and stuff. And so who knows? We'll see how things go.
Well, and if she's involved with Haxie and Brood, who's to say she's not involved with the crime syndicates? If they're still around at this point, I don't know if they are, but like. Also, there's also the sparks of the rebellion, right? So there's like other people trying to rebel. So maybe it's something in that regard. Any thoughts on that, Nate?
Yeah, I actually hadn't thought about that. But I can definitely see what you're saying, and I can see even if it's not Ventress, I could easily see it like leading to her. Like, because who else knows about the Bad Batch? Like, there's not a lot of people besides the Empire directly and the people they have working for them, and then like their inner circle and the clones and stuff. Who knows like where they are, knows or is looking for them, is in that. And so I think this kind of opens the door for another big character like Ventress to kind of make an appearance.
Last time we had a figure on a hologram that we didn't know, it was Ahsoka being Fulcrum in Rebels. So not to stir the pot a little bit with that, but that'd be kind of hype.
Yeah, I don't think
I
that's
happening. I don't think Fennec's bringing Ahsoka in. But
yeah, that deeply rooted. I mean, I'm trying to think of like who else would be interested in midichlorian count, right? Like M count stuff. Um, and I mean, first off, why would Ventress be interested? Other if then she's like kind of leaned towards the light side a little bit more now, right? And she's probably looking.
Well, they're doing the underground, right? In Kenobi, he sees Quinlan's name on the underground routes for like.
That's a good point. Actually, I totally forgot about that. You're totally right on that. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's like the underground, and that's how they're connecting it. But we'll see, because I mean that is a Deborah Chow story, right? That was like created. Then this is a Filoni story, so maybe he is trying to connect them too, or if he's just trying to keep it kind of in the universe in the stories that he kind of created. So I don't know. That is an interesting point. So I wonder what we'll see from that. But other than that, I didn't have a lot more to bring up on it because, like you said, Jason, it was a little bit more of a filler episode, so there wasn't really that much to talk about. But any last thoughts, any theories you guys want to bring in?
I'm good.
No.
All right. Well, we got 7 more episodes left, so keep catching us.
Do we want to rank them?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, let's make sure that we rank them. I totally forgot about that. But yeah, Nate, why don't you start us off? What do you rank this episode?
Say like I think I gave the last one that we talked about like a 7. So I'd probably give this one about the same. I think, or maybe, yeah, 7, 6.5 around there. Like nothing great, but still enjoyed watching it. It was good.
Yeah. For me, it was it's one of those episodes I think I will like more the next time I watch it. And so because of that, it has room to improve, but I'm gonna give it a 5.5 out of 10.
I was thinking you were gonna rank it about that low. I was like, which is
Yeah.
crazy because I feel like this is that the lowest you've ranked something or an episode of our reaction?
Of anything, yeah. I just was unimpressed. I just was like, I should have just looked ahead and looked at the season 2 algorithm of just like big opener, filler, bring Rex in halfway through, filler. Oh, Crosshair's dope finale. I should have,
Right.
looked at it more. And so 5.5 with room to grow. I mean, I gave most of season 1 of Rebels a 6 the first time I watched it. So then I watched it again. I said, whoa, this is like 8.5 minimum for most of these episodes. So it could go up, but L Bounty Hunter with L Standstill with the 5.5 pretty much solely coming from Crosshair's inability and like struggling to figure out what's wrong with his hand. Like that's pretty much what carried it. So plus the Haxian Brood nod. So
Yeah. Cool.
Not the
Well,
space,
I can. Yeah.
what, Nate?
not the space alligators in the bayou.
No.
I think that was like the one of the only times we've seen a boat. I was thinking about that. Like, how many times do we see people on a boat in Star Wars? But
Not
Well,
a
it
lot,
gave off
but
the vibe of Nal Hutta from like the Quinlan Obi-Wan Clone Wars episodes where they're on a boat, but like I didn't know if it was Nal Hutta. I didn't think that's what it was.
yeah, no, I
yeah.
don't think,
No, it wasn't. I think it was just some other unnamed planet, but
yeah.
well, all right, yeah, I'll finish it off with I'm gonna give it a 7 as well. Just because again, it was cool. I think the references really carried it for me. Um and kind of like again, like Kashyyyk, Gunji, Haxian Brood, all that stuff. The connection between Crosshair and Omega really carried that episode for me. But yeah, it wasn't really anything amazing. There's not a whole lot that I could say more about this episode. Kind of not one that's going to be a rewatchable episode for me, like singular. So, but yeah, a 7 out of 10 for me. All right, well, I guess we'll just end it here, and you guys just make sure to catch us in the next one. Peace.